carefree time in a person's life should be in their childhood years, but studies by the CDC show mental health issues have increased dramatically among school-aged children. What if wellness was as much of the curriculum as reading, writing, and arithmetic? And the idea of wellness wasn't only for students, but staff and faculty too. That's the philosophy at the John Cooper School in the Woodlands. I spoke with the head of school, Dr. Stephen Popp, and Dr. Juan Estrada, the director of wellness, and we heard from several students about how emotional skills and support have built a foundation they'll be able to rely on throughout life. Dr. Popp, you have several degrees, your undergrad degree, your master's in history and education, a PhD in education, but you also have a pedigree in education. It runs in your family.
It sure does. And you know, my grandmother was an independent school teacher, and she took me to Gettysburg when I was 10. And that's what it was for me, this galvanizing power of curiosity, and sitting there on that battlefield, I wanted to know more about it and talk to people about it. And that spurred my interest in education.
Speaking of history, John Cooper School has a great history, and part of that history is understanding just the importance of education in a community. We all know when you look at communities that are strong in education, it permeates the entire city.
That is absolutely correct. The John Cooper School is a pre-K through 12 independent school located here in the Woodlands, Texas, and our history, that's 35 years old, is moored to the history of the Woodlands. We are part of founder George Mitchell's vision for this community, that we could be an important educational exemplar here, not only in the Woodlands, but across the greater Houston area and in the country.
We hear so many times in the news how teachers are just up against the wall, the pressure to take on more kids and more kids. With the lower ratio, they're able to relate to the kids better, and the kids feel like they can get a personal education that way.
That's right. Our mission talks about challenging students and doing so in care. And the way we want to foster a caring environment and a learning environment where our students can thrive is by creating conditions for them to do just that. And one of the key parts of our independent school is making sure that every kid is known and cared for. And by keeping those ratios there, and by being intentional about how we imbue care within our classrooms and our corridors and all throughout our campus, it certainly helps us deliver upon our mission.
There are a number of schools out there that basically play to a child's interest. You know, you have your magnet schools that will deal with art, you have your schools that will deal with the sciences. You have a balance of programs here.
We sure do. We believe in educating the whole child, looking at their emotional, intellectual, artistic, athletic pursuits, and helping them thrive, both whether it's on the field, on the stage, in the classroom. And our facilities afford us the opportunity to do so, and our teachers, who are tremendous professionals, help support the kids, not just again in the classroom, but in all their pursuits in which they do.
I'm going to touch on athletics, because oftentimes people think that you have to forego that in a school like this.
Oh no, actually it is part of our program. We want students to have opportunities to play, to be part of different clubs and organizations. And the great thing about the athletic program here is that it is giving kids opportunities to hone their skills, to develop their skills, and then also compete at a very high level.
Who are you looking to come to the school? Like, who is this school good for as a student?
Well, we love to have students that are here that are intellectually curious, that are eager and interested in a variety of different subjects. And we want students that are excited about learning, not just for their own efforts, but in a community of learners.
You touched on that word care earlier, and kind of at the bedrock of kids walking through these doors is this feeling of wellness. And so I want to talk to Dr. Diego Estrada, because I want to see how far you take that idea of wellness in the schools.
Indeed.
Dr. Estrada, you have a global perspective on education. First of all, you grew up in Spain, but you taught in 6 other countries. While the curriculum may be different in different places, what's the same, and what we know is that kids do better when they walk into an environment that feels safe.
There's no real learning if we don't have a basic sense of well-being. So investing in the well-being of school communities is investing in learning. They're inseparable.
This is interesting, because every time we hear of a crisis in a school, the first thing people say is, these kids were under great emotional stress. We need to, but we never seem to get around to doing that. What was behind making that happen here at Cooper?
We realized that it was important to be proactive and not reactive. We tend to be reactive, but we don't have to wait until students are in crisis to do something. We have to, again, create the conditions and develop the inner resources so that they can deal with the inevitable ups and downs of life, to help not only students but Actually, we started with the adults. You have to start by modeling what that means, and that starts with the adults.
You employ the ruler approach. Explain that.
Once we understand that emotions really matter in our lives, we need to develop some skills, and those skills are what rulers stand for. The first R is the ability to recognize emotions in yourself and in others. The U stands for understanding the causes and the consequences of the emotions. The L is labeling. Do we have a vocabulary to talk about what we are experiencing? The E is expressing. We have to reflect on how the expression of emotions has an impact on others, and when it's appropriate to express emotions and with whom. The last R is regulating. Do we have strategies to regulate our emotions so that we can be more effective in achieving our goals?
There are some other things that you put in place just to make it easier for students to get through the day, and one of them is just more time between classes. The other is more breaks during the day, extra time for lunch, meetings, clubs. All of that is still part of their education.
Well-being is not a program that you implement. Well-being is a culture that you create, and if you want to create a culture of well-being, you have to attend to all the components that influence our well-being.
With the A approach.
Yes, it's very easy to remember. We use 4 A's, and the first one is like to be aware. And the second one is to take action. We have students really engaged in leadership opportunities so that they can become very active in creating a culture of well-being. And the third A is accepting. We want to accept that when we're talking about emotions, we have pleasant emotions and unpleasant emotions, and they are part of life, and the important thing is what we do about it. And the last one is available. We want everyone in our community to realize that they are not alone when they are struggling or facing a challenge. So we need to make sure that we make ourselves available and we have the skills to be available to others.
I have a 5th A, and that's an A+ for that program. Right now we want to talk to a number of your students in different parts of their education, even some that are getting ready to go off to college, and the great thing about that is that this is something that will be a part of them for the rest of their life. Lucas, you're a competitive swimmer. You serve as the school mascot, Draco the Dragon, right? So your favorite movie's got to be How to Train a Dragon, right? You presented about the school's wellness approach at a national conference. What skills have you learned here at John Cooper that really make it easier for you in day-to-day life?
Ruler and various skills, so I think that's one of the major ones is ruler and the mood meter especially. We have it all around the school, and it's a graph with a lot of colors on it, and you basically plot on the graph where you're feeling, right? The axis is labeled energy and pleasantness, and you plot where you are, and it really helps normalize the feeling of understanding how you're feeling, because instead of just being like, oh, I'm happy, I'm sad, you're like, okay, well, I'm kind of feeling really energetic, but I'm feeling a little unpleasant. So it really helps normalize the feeling of understanding your emotions.
And that word normalize, Scarlett, one of the things you want to do is to help eradicate the stigma around mental health challenges. What are some of the more common things that kids are dealing with today?
I think in a lot of schools, students are dealing with stress academically and also stress from sports, and there's competition in all schools. But here at Cooper, they don't rank the students, which I think is really helpful. And the teachers are always so willing to help, and they'll actually talk to you and ask how your day is. And as Lucas mentioned, ruler and graphing on the mood meter is also really helpful to kind of deal with the stress that every student faces.
Yeah. Felicity, you're an Eagle Scout, a talented pianist, a competitive fencer. You were accepted to Notre Dame, so is it Notre Dame or Notre Dame?
I think Notre Dame is how I say it.
That'll work. Okay. All right. So congratulations. Yeah. What skills did you learn here at John Cooper that you will take with you not only to college but for the rest of your life into the boardroom one day?
So I think it's important to accept that when I go to college, it's not going to be super easy. Like, it's not going to be all of a sudden, I love it, I'm amazing, right? So I think it's okay to accept that and to understand. And I think also the stuff that I've been taught at Cooper, like knowing when to reach out for help and knowing how to understand my emotions, as Lucas was talking about the mood meter, understanding your emotions and how they mean and what you can do to change them if you want to. I think those are all really important skills that I learned here that I can carry on.
If you could say something to a parent to get them to consider John Cooper School, what would you say?
I would say come to Cooper because it's just a really supportive environment overall. I've been here for pretty much my entire life, and I think the community that I've grown here and that I've been able to work with and form these connections with is just really special to me. So I think it's something that Cooper has that's really unique.
Scarlett?
I've also been here since I was 5 years old, so practically my whole life. And I would agree that the community is super important, but I would also like to mention the teachers here are absolutely fantastic. I think they go above and beyond to make sure that every student is really reaching their full potential and completely understands the topic.
All right, Lucas, for you?
I think that the biggest thing with Cooper is they're very keen on the students' well-being and the students coming first in almost all aspects of education, and I feel like that's a really big part of it. Asking for help here isn't just something that is good to do. It's encouraged by everyone, the teachers and your peers. It's a great environment for all students to thrive in.
It's the foundation for saving the world. So Tag, you're it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Pop, Dr. Estrada, and students have presented the value of this wellness and education model to professionals across the country. They're working on a book to share with teachers and administrators as well. To learn more about the John Cooper School or schedule an in-person tour at the Woodlands Best Kept Secret, give them a call at this number right there on your screen. It's 281-367-0900. Again, that's 281-367-0900, or visit them online at johncooper.org.